Hi, it's Edward, back with another video. Please take a moment to click the thumbs up button below and consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your support. Today, I decided to do a deep dive regarding why being a doctor sucks. I took a look at a Reddit forum pertaining to this topic, and I found the comments to be very interesting. I'm going to share them with you. This individual said, "My dad is a doctor and wanted me to be one too. Hell no. He's the most stressed and miserable person I know. I would never want to do that. Honestly, society got doctors all wrong. I know many and most of them are living unbalanced and unhealthy lives. How is society supposed to be healthy and balanced when its leading health professionals are not?" Well, I think that's a great question. This next person said, "I know a radiologist at my hospital who weighs 400 pounds. The poor fellow can barely walk. Another local doctor committed suicide recently. Another doctor I used to work with got in trouble for substance abuse problems. God bless doctors, but I think the current system drives them insane." Isn't that sad? I really hate to hear about this. The next commenter said, "Med school is hell. And then, these folks often are required to work 80 plus hours a week through residency. After 8 hours of that, workaholism is all they know." I've never heard that term before, but I believe it may be true. This next person said, "My wife, 5 years out of school, still works 70 hours a week and only 40 in a clinic, but she does reports at home. The only way to keep things manageable is for me to take over all normal life responsibilities." My friends, that does not sound balanced. This poor man is handling everything at home because his wife is working so hard. 70 hours a week is no joke. This next person said, "My friend's dad was a doctor, and over 20 years ago, he advised my sister against being a doctor because he knew things were going this way." This is why I think young people who are thinking about going into a particular career need to talk with someone outside of the university. Talk with people who are doing these jobs right now and find out what it's really like. And then ask them about the trends that they see. I think a lot of young folks do not complete enough due diligence before pursuing a particular career path. A lot of people spend a lot of money going to college, and then they graduate and get out there in the real world and find out they hate it. This next person said, "Yeah, at this point, doctors are puppets to health insurance companies. They can't always do what's right by their patients because it could possibly plunge their patients into astronomical debt on top of the non-doctor health insurance rejecting things for not being medically necessary." Well, the medical field is certainly challenging, isn't it? Insurance companies these days are really out of hand. This next person said, "Physicians have one of the highest suicide rates of any profession. It's pretty disturbing." This is really, really tragic. Another person said, "We're not robots. We need to start putting people before profits. Life matters. Lifestyle matters. Healthy habits matter." Well, I couldn't agree more. There are some people who are really intelligent who get into an occupation and find out how unhealthy it is, and they make a career change while they still can. A lot of people will take a chance and do that. I have a friend who was making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. He had a very prestigious position, but he was working countless hours each week and dealing with over 90 employees. He was always stressed out. He decided he needed to make a change. He gave up all of that money and prestige to pursue a completely different career path. Fortunately, he was successful in his career change. Not everyone is. This next commenter said, "Surgeons can hardly make a decent salary anymore. Reimbursement sucks. and malpractice insurance eats the rest. Well, I can believe that. And that is really, really unfortunate. We need really good surgeons. Another commenter said, as someone who left medical school in his third year, I would say do something else. I know it's very hard to leave medicine once you're in it. Where I live, you get strapped with so much debt along the way. It's nearly impossible to leave if you want to ever pay back your student loan debt. But if you can manage it, do something else. I'm so much happier since leaving, and so many of my friends that stayed are just miserable now. They had hoped all the way through med school and residency that there was a light at the end of the tunnel. That may be true for a few specialties, but for most, the hours never stop sucking. The pressure and stress never lets up, and people just get sad and burnt out. Every time I hang out with a friend or family member in medicine, I just feel validated that I made the right choice leaving. Another commenter said, my dad was a surgeon and he worked 12-hour days until the month before he died of cancer. It was a miserable existence, making rich people richer for unfair pay, and a lot of us doctors' sons refused to go into medicine. Isn't that interesting? This next person said, many physicians are making the hospital administrators and pharmaceutical industry and health insurance executives rich. At least as a physician, maybe they could have an easier workflow and spend more time with patients. No. You get 10 to 15 minutes with a patient, strapped with ridiculous reimbursement documentation quotas, endless paperwork that would make journalists blush, and liability up the wazoo. You can have a way better life making less money and working from home in many other industries. It's just not worth it from a mental health perspective alone. This next person said, I do agree 100%. Being an MD sucks, and at the same time, it will give you happiness. It is love, hate, repeat times 1,000. This next individual said, I had a friend of mine in somewhat of a similar situation. This person had his own practice, and he only worked 3 days a week. Most of it wasn't about the money. It was about work-life balance, combined with his love of helping people. It's funny, because he still makes over $200,000 a year. Basically, he's the only doctor I know that still attends every game for his sons. How sad is that? I'm sure this is true, though. A lot of medical professionals are working so hard, they barely have enough time for their children. This next commenter said, being a doctor is terrible in the U.S. They are basically corporate employees, but with the added stress of having an entire wing of the legal profession on their butt and ready to punish any mistake. In fact, the only motivation most doctors have these days is to not make a mistake, which is driving up the costs of healthcare, as half the tests are simply given to cover their butts in the event of a lawsuit. It is nothing like it is portrayed on popular television shows. My friends, I found these comments to be very, very interesting. If you're a doctor, is there any truth to what these folks are saying? If so, tell us about it in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to the channel. I want to extend a special thanks to everyone who has subscribed to this channel. I want to also thank all of my channel members. If you would like to become a channel member, there is a link in the description beneath this video. You can read more about the different membership levels. Please also check out some of the great books I suggest you consider reading in the description below. I've included Amazon affiliate links to these books. As an Amazon associate, I earn from qualifying purchases. Stay healthy and wealthy. I'll see everyone in the next video.